welcome to this session of Lead, Learn and Grow. I'm Helen Clayton, PM&M's managing partner, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome my friend Louise Stephenson.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Louise is a partner in the Drax team, part of the LCAP group, and she is founder and host of the Women in Business Network, which I've been privileged to be part of. And she is also an avid fundraiser for Prevent Breast Cancer for very personal reasons. So welcome, Louise.
Hi, Helen.
Hello. I want to ask you, in terms of your career to date, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned?
My career to date. Well, let me phrase it if I could talk to my younger self.
Mm-hmm.
If I could talk to my younger self, I would say that I listened too much to other people. So I am a result of today of listening to people in my younger career. So the question is, would I still be here today? Probably. I don't believe in regrets and things like that. So fate has brought me to where I am today. But as a younger businesswoman, I did listen to other people too much. So I think my younger career was very much what other people wanted for me rather than what I wanted for myself.
So you say no regrets, and you say you would still be here today. So along that journey, were the things that you listened to but perhaps didn't flow with?
Yeah, so I think as a younger woman, so I started life as I failed my GCSEs miserably. My dad picked up my GCSE results and told me what they were because I just knew I hadn't passed any. So I went to college and did it the long way around and had to do BTECs and things like that. So, and in them days, you did what your parents did. You didn't really have careers advice when I was that age. What do you mum and dad do? Go and do that. So I went to catering college, went into catering and hotels, knew instantly that that was not the career for me. So I moved into travel and events, loved travel and events. So for 5 years, the 20 to 25-year-old Louise was in travel and events all over the world, organising events for Department Trade of Industry and Vodafone. Wow. Absolutely loved it. Had my first mobile phone in them days, so that would have been a brick, not a mobile phone that we see today, but absolutely loved life, travelling all over the world and supporting businesses and Department Trade of Industry. It was fantastic, but got me redundant, unfortunately. So walked into Randstad, as it was at the time. I'd got a mortgage at 25 years old and just had to get a job. So walked into Randstad and that they just offered me a job. Have you ever thought about recruitment? No, I haven't thought about recruitment. So needed a job, so just took the job. And I'll be honest and say that I took the job thinking that for the first 6 months I would carry on looking for another job. I just needed to pay the mortgage. And then 16 and a half years later, I'm still at Randstad. So I think if I look back and think during that time, I just found that I was really good at it, but I probably didn't know at the time what I was good at. So I listened to everyone else saying, oh, you'd be a great this, you'd be a great branch manager, you'd be a great district manager, and just sort of got swept along, I suppose. So it wasn't until the latter part of my 16 and a half years that I thought, I actually don't really like being in recruitment. This is really not for me. Why am I even here? But when you've been in a career for that long, it's without qualifications, what do you do then? So I purposely went to college at 40 to do my CIPD level 5 with the intention of leaving recruitment. So my intention at that point was, I don't want to be in recruitment. I want to exit. So I'll do some qualifications at college. My children were really tiny. I mean, that was 12 years ago and they're now 15 and 13. But I thought, no, I'll do my CIPD level 5 and then that'll move me into HR and I can come out of recruitment. But then I met my now boss, Paul Waite, and he told me about executive search and I thought, why not? I'll give it a go. It's felt a little bit more different. And then, 8 years later, here I am, technically still in recruitment, although I'd class that what I do now is very, very different. So so I definitely in those early years listened to other people about how good I am and what I'm good at and what I like, when actually in reflection, I should have really listened to myself. There were moments in time where I did try to leave, didn't really enjoy it because it's sales and you've got a target and things like that. So I wish I would have listened to myself. So I don't believe in regrets, no, because I think I wouldn't be who I am now without the things that I've gone through. I certainly wouldn't be here I am, with the Empowering Women event and things like that, because would I have been here? But I definitely wish I'd listened to myself a little bit more.
So in terms of your role now, how does that differ compared to recruitment?
So I would class myself now as a leadership advisor. So if you're a privately owned organisation wanting to take some form of investment in the future, part of your valuation is based on your team and also that private owner, how deeply entrenched they are into that day-to-day running of the business. That determines the value that you're going to get for that organisation. So I help privately owned organisations and founders create a leadership team that's going to create and get investment.
Yeah.
You could also then be private equity backed already. And if you're private equity backed, you're normally then going through the journey. And again, what I do is I work with CEOs, private equity houses, to ensure that the team they have in place is the right team that's actually going to get them to their exit.
So I imagine there's quite a lot of difficult and challenging conversations with leadership teams or people that think maybe they're part of a leadership team but aren't actually doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we all agree that the growth of an SME and the growth of a business, the team that you start with aren't necessarily the team that you end with.
Yeah.
And that's hard, isn't it, for either a founder or a CEO to make decisions on, you've got me this far, but actually are you the right team to take me all the way? So I think that's the conversations that we have on a day-to-day basis. And there's some people that will be able to develop and go all the way through the journey, but there are others that are really good at certain points. So we see it all the time where you have a CEO or an MD where they're just really great at taking a business from a founder-led organisation through to a first-time PE investment, but they just know what to do. And that's what we call situational experience, that they've been there, they've done it, they've made the mistakes, they understand to put systems and processes and people and that sort of thing in. There's other people who are just really good at the industrialisation stage. I'm a £100 million business, and I'm going to drive it to a £200 million business. Not everybody can do both of those things.
Yeah.
Some can, but some just find their place, I suppose. And that's our job, really, is to work with those CEOs, founders, private equity chairs to say, who is the right leadership team that's going to take you on that journey, and every journey is going to be completely different.
Yeah. Just as our journeys are completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it so interesting.
Absolutely.
When I listen to all of this. So in terms of your own journey, what challenges have you faced, overcome, smacked out the park?
I think I was thinking about this really carefully in terms of what to say. So I would say I've got hurdles in two different directions.
Okay.
I've had personal hurdles that I would say has shaped who Louise is today. And I've had career hurdles that have been impacted by my personal life because of what's happened in my personal life. But if I just talk about work hurdles, I would say that failing my GCSEs was probably a first hurdle, that as an older woman, maybe in their sort of late 30s, early 40s, wanting to make a difference, and you're earning at a certain level because you've got a career where you're the breadwinner, et cetera, so therefore you have to keep it going. I do think that the hurdle in terms of qualifications has held me back. Okay. And I do wonder, what would Louise Stephenson be doing now if I had gone to university, if I had got a degree, or, what would Louise be doing now? But it's hard to say that, isn't it? Because I am who I am now because of all of those hurdles. The other hurdles I've had is that I've had some very domineering leaders in my past who, again, I've listened to. So in terms of what's right and what's wrong, or giving me feedback in terms of what I'm doing and what I shouldn't be doing. And I think, again, the Louise that I am now, if I'd told my younger self, I wouldn't have listened to those individuals, and I would have taken myself out of those scenarios and backed myself enough to say I didn't need to be in those scenarios or work for those individuals. So I would say that, probably my biggest hurdle career-wise is, like I said earlier, is I've listened to too many people and negatively listened to people in terms of what I'm really good at and what I'm not at, and things like that. And I shouldn't have listened to them. I should have backed myself more and said, no, I can do something different to what they want me to do. But I would say my personal life has been where my biggest hurdles are. And if I think about who Louise Stephenson is today, it's probably because of my personal hurdles, not my work hurdles.
Yeah. But you backed yourself when you set up the women's network. You must have backed yourself at that point.
Well, I didn't know it was going to grow into what it is today.
It's huge.
I know. And I still pinch myself because I'm not quite sure how I've got where we are and all the rest of it, and all the feedback I get is amazing. And I still don't believe it. I think it's wow. But I think that's definitely a part of me. I don't get carried away with the the feedback and stuff like that, because I'm driven by a fear of being found out, I think. So I'm constantly learning, reading. You've been on my panel, so you know the amount of research that I do and the work that I do behind the scenes and all of that sort of stuff. And I will never let myself not do that. So I'll never let myself wing it, if you know what I mean, because A, it means too much to me, and B, the standard that it is only because I do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did back myself, but I backed myself because of the work environment. I was going to networking events. I work in private equities. It's very male dominated. And I went to too few networking events where, I'd be ignored. I'm also not very good at networking. So I was, you say stupid things and think, what say that for? That was a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't like football. So I have no interest in football whatsoever. Talk to me about boxing or Formula One. Great conversation, but it always seems to move to football, and I'm not interested in football at all. So I just found it really hard, really, really hard to network in a very male-dominated environment. I also found some women in that environment acting like males, almost being really quite cliquey.
Okay.
And that's hard when you're someone coming into a network and trying to build a profile for yourself. And just coming against barriers all the time in terms of trying to A, I wasn't very good at networking, B, they don't sort of let you in, or quite dismissive, you're female, etc., etc. So I remember the day that I walked out of a networking event and thought, I can't be the only female that feels like this. I can't be. You're not telling me that I'm the only person that walks out of a networking event and goes, that was a complete waste of my time, because they're just dismissive and I didn't talk about football and and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, what started as 11 women going for lunch turned into 22, turned into 45, turned into 80. And we've got now just over 600 senior females in that community. But if you ask me why or how that's got there, I still to this day don't know. But what I do know is that I know that I'm making a difference in some kind of way. So, and I'm determined therefore to carry on, because I know that I'm making a difference to some females in the local community. So I feel like I have a responsibility now to carry it on. Yeah. Because of all the feedback I get and how people really like it and the impact that it has. And so I suppose it's like a ripple effect.
Yes.
That I can't change the system that we work in. I can't change professional services or private equity as an ecosystem. But what I can do, and what I would like to continue doing, is empowering women, one woman at a time.
Yeah.
And if I can make that one woman go back into the workplace and feel more confident, more inspired, knowledge, skills, inspiration, that she knows that she's not on her own, that there is a lot of people in the Northwest that have got her back, then that's all I can do, and that's what I'll carry on doing.
Yeah. The ripple effect and the word of mouth is phenomenal, really, isn't it, in professional services?
Yeah.
In terms of people's networks are huge.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should underestimate the power of what people say about your events that then make other people want to just come and have a nosy.
Yeah.
And I think a huge message that you conveyed there is the homework that you put in. I think quite often people see us and they think, oh, they've just wung it. Is that a word? They've winged it.
Yeah.
They've not put any thought in beforehand or anything like that. And actually, that goes to make a successful event. It goes to make something work time and time again.
Yeah.
And listening to feedback and, being quite honest about stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm eternally grateful. I mean, the feedback I get is just amazing. And also I've had some negative feedback as well. But I'm a great believer in that feedback is a gift.
Yeah.
How it's delivered, possibly.
Indeed.
Is important, but you don't learn, do you, unless you get feedback, and you grow and it develops based on that feedback. So, the last event that I did on the Next Generation, where we met 3 young individuals under 30, that was because of feedback from a young woman saying, these are all senior females, but how do I want to learn from you guys. Hence why that we're doing that we did that in the last panel based on feedback. And I've had some negative feedback when we've talked about mental health, and there are some really touching subjects that we've talked about where people have been affected by mental health. And we've talked about some really close to the bone subjects where it could potentially trigger other people. So I've taken that feedback really, really seriously. So because we need to talk about it, because in females, you know, we do cope with stress differently.
Yeah.
And we all have our individual ways of dealing with stress, but also, you know, I think it's not a taboo anymore to talk about the fact that we all struggle and we have bad days and all the rest of it. We need to keep talking about it to make sure that those ones who are feeling it know that they're not on their own. So it's really important. So yeah, some of the subjects I talk about are a little bit too close to the bone for some people.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. So you also support a phenomenal charity, Prevent Breast Cancer. So I have a question for you. You have one activity to pick. You can only do one of them. Is it a danceathon? Are you going to chuck yourself out of a plane? Are you going to abseil? Are you going to do that crazy bungee jump that you did the other week, which scared the hell out of me?
Oh, it's the most scariest thing I've ever done.
You could pick one.
What, to do again?
Yes.
Danceathon every time.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, the day was just phenomenal. I mean, the bungee jump, let's take the bungee jump in isolation. I'm frightened of heights. I have a real fear of heights. So climbing mountains and, you know, all of that sort of thing, you think, why on earth would you do those things? But it's about taking yourself out your comfort zone. So I do try and pick things where we are taking ourselves out of the comfort zone, because fear is only what you make it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you make fear sometimes too big, and, you know, we have a coach, you know, who says that, you know, the only thing that's stopping you is fear itself. So you've got to sometimes push through it. So the bungee jump for me was about pushing through my fear. But it was the most scariest thing I've ever done in my life, and I will never do it again. But I was so empowered doing it, thinking that's it. And now, you know, I've pushed through the other side. But the danceathon was just, it was just incredible. What started as, Michelle Maloney from MHA, you know, it was her idea, and she helped me organise it with Reform Radio and stuff like that. It was just phenomenal. I mean, who would have thought that dancing for 12 hours, A, raise all that money, but B, I don't know, every time I do a challenge, you know, you make new friends. We're all pushing ourselves out of comfort zone. And we have a sort of a little subgroup called Team Empower, and that's growing now as well. And they've all just become friends, and it's just amazing. But yeah, so we're definitely doing a danceathon next year.
Okay.
Absolutely. 24 hours might try this year.
Flat shoes, yeah?
Flat shoes.
Flat shoes, okay.
Or bring a change of shoes.
Yeah. You can dance while changing shoes.
Absolutely, you can.
What a skill. What a skill. Louise, thank you so much for your time. It's been really enjoyable.
Thank you.